How are we doing, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Steel Talking Sports. I am your host, Jay Steele, and let's get talking. Happy Saturday night, Sunday evening. Hope everyone had a good day. I did not. That is for sure. Um, Good slate of games. A lot of the favorites took care of business, even though some of the dogs made it interesting. We'll talk about it. We'll go over it. We'll discuss what happened. I'm sad that nobody has let me know how bad I sounded with the ums and ahs and oohs and ums and ums. I sounded like Robin Scherbatsky from the episode of How I Met Your Mother when she's interviewing the kid and she says, but. It sounded so bad. I've got to fix that. I will be working on that and make sure I do not do that from now on. I listened to last night's episode and I noticed it in the first 5 seconds and I was like, holy crap, I've got to quit this shit. Um, there's one. So let's talk about the games. Let's recap the picks. It was a bad day. We will get to it right now. First up, McNeese and Purdue. It was a good run. Uh, Good job, McNeese and Will Wade. That was number 2 right there. They played a tough game. Purdue could not miss a shot in the first half. Braden Smith was on fire. Trey Kaufman ran 22 points and 15 rebounds. Great game by him. McNeese just could not hit a shot in the first half. First half score was 38-20. They did make a run late in the second half, but it never really got close. They only outscored Purdue 42-38. They lose 76-62. I only placed one bet. I placed McNeese money line. Pretty quickly into the game, I noticed that was a bad pick, and I felt really stupid for betting with my heart instead of my head. I should have been smarter. That was number 3. Got to stop that. Takeaway from the game, Purdue was obviously just the better team. They controlled the game start to finish. The guards looked very good. Trey Kaufman Wren looked very good. Even the backup big guy, Caleb First, I think is his name. He looked solid. They advanced to the Sweet 16. Good job, Purdue. Second game of the day, and the biggest heartbreaker for me, Arkansas 75, St. John's 66. I had St. John's minus 7.5. And very quickly in this game as well, Arkansas got St. John's into foul trouble, mainly Kadari Richmond. He had 2 fouls very quickly, only had 2 points on the board, and I think it was still the 10-minute mark in the first half. And when I saw that on the screen, I was like, man, it's going to be a tough road for St. John's the rest of the way. They made a good fight, finished the first half 35-32 in favor of Arkansas. But besides one late flurry where they got it to a 2-point game with maybe 4 or 5 minutes left, St. John's was never in the game. They couldn't make foul shots, and on this stretch of the last 10 games or so, Arkansas finally hit their foul shots, and that made a big difference in the game. I hate to see my future go down with St. John's, but it is what it is. They had a great run, 31-5. Rick Pitino will be back next year. This team will be better, and I'm excited to see what they bring to the table next year. But as it rides, Arkansas and John Calipari in his first year at Arkansas, great job. A 10 seed getting to the Sweet 16. Very impressed. I should have been on this side. Uh, yeah, as soon as the game started, I really regretted this one too. I saw how the game plan for Arkansas was to be physical down low, and they executed and they made shots for once. If we look at the box score, let's see. Arkansas shot 42% from the field, only 2 of 19 from 3, but they made 19 of 27 free throws for 70%. Um, St. John's shot 28% from the field, 21 of 75, 2 of 22 from three-point land. That is awful. Aaron Scott, 1 for 6. Leotopoulos off the bench, 1 for 6. You just can't have that. And then your best player on the team, Kadari Richmond, 5 points, 5 fouls, 2 assists, and 4 rebounds in only 16 minutes played. Holy shit. I didn't realize he only played 16 minutes. That's shocking. Um, that shows how much Arkansas worked for this game and made sure that their offense attacked him. They did a great job of it. They they executed the game plan. Great job to John Calipari advancing to the Sweet 16. Game number 3 on the slate was the Michigan Wolverines up against Texas A&M. We finally got a win here. Michigan plus 2.5. They win the game outright, 91-79, with a huge second half. Michigan was down at the half, 39-35, and rallied 56-40 in the second half. Vlad Golden goes for 22 and 12 with 3 blocks. Awesome game, actually. I did not get eyes on this game. I was at work. The restaurant was busy, and we had the TV on the Drake game. So I did not get eyes on this. I was just score watching on my phone when I had the chance. And, I was obviously they were down by 4 at halftime. So I thought there was a chance. And then somewhere late in the second half, let's see the game cast here. 8 minutes to go. It was Texas A&M 70, Michigan 66. And then the next time A&M scored a bucket was 5 minutes to go, and it was a Michigan lead 75-72 now. So at the 5-minute mark, Michigan finished the game on a 16-7 run. Great job, Michigan. Way to get the cover. Way to cash the money line ticket for me. Thank you very much. Michigan Wolverines advance to the Sweet 16. Cheers to Michigan for the first W of the day. Well, actually, I did bet Chattanooga in the NIT on the money line at home, and I won that, but I did not pick that on the show. So it kind of counts, but doesn't really count. Next up, the Drake Bulldogs took on Texas Tech Red Raiders. They put up a great fight. I did get to see a lot of this game when I had the opportunity at work, and Drake was in it the entire game. I mean, they're down 7 at halftime, but they cut it to one or two possessions multiple times in the second half. I guess Texas Tech got them into foul trouble. That's the only thing I can see. Um, but they were in this game. They were right at the number, and then Texas Tech just pulled away late. Let's see. I mean, nobody on Drake fouled out, but Abreu with 3 fouls, Menyawu with 3 fouls. But Bennett Sturts, their stud, goes for 21, 8 assists, 3 boards. Uh, Only 2 of 6 from three, but great job by Drake. Really impressed. And I think there's talk that their coach, Ben McCollum, is getting some attention from some high major programs. So great job on him. Number 4, I think, on the ums. So we lost that bet. Drake plus 6.5 and Drake money line. The future on McNeese and Drake to reach the Sweet 16 comes to an end, but it was a fun run. Next up, Creighton and Auburn. What a tough game this was. Creighton had the lead at halftime, 37-35. I remember seeing the score of this game tied 50-50. And from there on, Auburn controlled the game. Yep, 50-50 at the 14:04 mark in the second half. Obviously, from there, Auburn wins the game 32-20 in the last 14 minutes. Uh, that's a tough beat. It really was. I thought Creighton looked really good in the first half. They were making threes. I thought they were getting Auburn into foul trouble, and it all just fell apart in the second half. Auburn advances to the Sweet 16. It's what you would expect with a 1 seed, but they looked sketchy. I would say, I guess this is a good sign for Auburn because they're starting to put it together. They did not look good against Alabama State. Picked it up in the second half, didn't cover the spread, but looked better. We're losing here at the half, outscored Creighton in the second half by 14 points. The last 14 minutes obviously just shut down the game. Great job to Auburn advancing to the Sweet 16. But as that stands, that is a 1-4 so far. Bad day, bad day. Next up, BYU and Wisconsin. BYU 91, Wisconsin 89. This was a heartbreaker. Obviously, BYU was up 11 points at halftime. Wisconsin rallied in the second half. John Tonje went for 37 points, but it still wasn't enough. Richie Saunders, 25 points, 7 rebounds on the BYU side. It came down to a nail biter. Wisconsin had the possession with under 10 seconds. Tonje tried to get a shot, tried to get a foul at the end, and BYU stood strong, did not give up a foul, and the jumper came up short to send the game to overtime. So that was a tough one. I definitely had Wisconsin minus 1.5, and that really stunk. So great job, BYU. My takeaway is this team can shoot threes from anywhere and from anybody on the court. They play a good brand of basketball that they continue to pass the ball around the perimeter until they get the most open shot. Richie Saunders, 3 of 4 from 3. Igor Demon, 2 of 6. Trevin Nell, 4 of 6. 12 of 26 as a team for 46%. and they made 15 of 16 free throws. Just getting it done where you need to get it done. Great job by BYU. They advanced to the Sweet 16 with their first year coach. I mean, enough said. Cheers to BYU. Next up, last two games of the slate, Gonzaga and Houston. Houston gets the W 81 to 76, but it was not pretty at the end. They had a 8-point lead at halftime. Gonzaga wins the second half 49 to 46. It was down to a 3-point game. They never really had a possession. It was kind of like the McNeese Clemson game from 2 days ago. But man, if you trust Houston to handle full court press and traps from really good teams in a late game situation, this game worries you because obviously the -5.5 did not cover. They win by 5. That really stinks. But Houston had a double digit lead, 14 plus points with 6 minutes to go. I mean, they really folded the bag late, and that's kind of worrying from a 1 seed who's 32-4. If they're doing that against Tennessee or Auburn, where it's a 5-point game with 4 minutes to go and they can't handle that trap pressure, they could lose a national championship that way. So uh, be careful. Obviously, Houston is in the same region as Tennessee, so they would have to play each other before the Final Four or the semifinal. But you don't want it coming down to those kind of situations. So I did not like what I saw out of Houston in the last 5 minutes of the game. First 35 minutes, Houston was awesome. Best team in the land, no doubt about it. Last 5 minutes of the game, I'm not so sure. So while they advance, that was a sketchy ending, and I would like to see them improve that going into next weekend in the Sweet 16 game. I think that's number 6 on the ums. Last game of the night, UCLA and Tennessee, 67 to 58. This is dressed up a little bit because Tennessee was up close to 20 points, I think. And the last 5 minutes let UCLA back in the game a little bit when it was obviously out of reach. Yeah, I got a score here 61 to 42, 19-point lead with 5 minutes and 15 seconds left. UCLA dressed it up a little bit to only lose by 9 from that point. But from probably the last, I saw it in the last like 2 or 3 possessions of the first half. Tennessee really started to take over, show their athleticism against UCLA. They went into the half with a 7-point lead. I didn't really think that the -5.5 was in question from there, and they looked very good in the second half. So that was finally our second win of the day for a 2-6 record on the day. The two wins were Michigan money line and Tennessee -5.5. That brings the 3-day NCAA record to 19-21. Not very good, but a couple of money line dogs on day one still has us in the green for the past couple of days. But let's move on to Sunday's action. Obviously, there's only 8 games as well as we get down to the second half of the Sweet 16. So Sunday's matchups for March 23rd. We start out with an absolute banger at 12 o'clock. 8 seed UConn, 24-10, playing number 1 seed Florida, who is 31-4 now. This game is played in Raleigh, North Carolina, and Florida is laying 9.5 points. Total is set at 151.5. I do think there's going to be a lot of points scored in this game. I do like the over. I feel like that's a little low for the two caliber of teams we've got, but I think also maybe that's reflective of UConn not being as offensively dominant as they have been in the past. Last year, they scored a ton of points all the time, and now they are still on a streak of winning 13 straight NCAA tournament games and also covering 13 straight NCAA tournament games. I definitely think UConn can stay within 9.5 points of Florida. I also think that this could easily go over 150.5 right now on DraftKings. Florida can put up 90 in a heartbeat, we know. If I look at the last 5 games, 95 against Norfolk State, 86 against Tennessee, 104 against Alabama, 95 against Missouri, and 90 against Ole Miss. So they're definitely averaging 90 points a game. All I'm asking is UConn to score 60, I'm sorry. Yeah, UConn's not going to lose by 30 to Florida for sure. But if I'm asking this to be a 90 to 75 or 90 to 80 game, the number here is low comparably to the other tournament games we've got tomorrow. Illinois, Kentucky is the highest total of the day at 170.5. All the other games are in the 140s except for Oregon and Arizona later on. I'm I would like to play the over more than either of the sides because I do think Florida can win by 10 plus. I also think UConn is, I don't know if disrespected at 9.5, but it's warranted. They haven't played the best ball all season long. They do have 10 losses on the season, but it is the two-time defending national champion. I think that gives them some respect. I'm picking the over. That's what I'm going to bet, honestly. But if I had to pick a side, I would say UConn plus 9.5. There's just too many points for a Danny Hurley two-time defending national champion coach. His team may not be getting the job done all year long, but I think his coaching will. Even if they're down 12 points in the last 2 minutes, he finds a way to get this under 10 points and cover the number. Over 150.5. Florida, UConn. UConn plus 9.5. It's just too many points for Danny Hurley, and yeah, that's my take. Next up at 2:40 on the East Coast, we have the 9 seed Baylor taking on the 1 seed Duke in the East region. Duke is laying 12.5 points. Total is set at 144.5. This game is also played in Raleigh, so this will be played in the same gym. Um, 8. Weirdly enough, I don't understand this. How are they playing two back-to-back games from different regions? Florida's the 1 seed in the West, and Duke is the 1 seed in the East. Yet they're both playing in the Lenovo Center in Raleigh. That's so weird. I did not notice that. I did not know that they crossed regions. I didn't pay attention to that earlier. That's weird. Either way, Cooper Flag looked healthy. I know Baylor won, and I won on a Baylor ticket, but I did not feel good about that game the entire game. That was the definition of a sweat. It was only a $10 bet, but to have $10 on that, that was the most stressful $19.09 I've ever won on a Baylor ticket against Mississippi State. I do not want to do that again. I would much rather bet Duke 12 and a half and just think that their size and their athletes are going to dominate the boards, dominate the game. Cooper Flag looked healthy enough to me. Duke's going to win by 20, maybe 25, and make Baylor look really, really bad. And I'm sorry, Baylor. I like betting Baylor and Oregon just because of the jersey colors, but I cannot do it tomorrow. Duke minus 12.5 all the way. I would even play Duke up to 15. I mean, if this number is closer to 10 in the morning or closer to game time, I'm going to bet it again and just bet it twice. Duke is the much better team. I'm just going to keep riding uh, Cooper Flag, Con Knipple, Malawak, Tyrese Proctor. They're all playing great. John Shire looks really good in this stretch of his postseason dominance. So yeah, Duke minus 12.5, no question. Over 144.5. Yeah, I like the over in that game too. Duke can score 90. Uh, they might hold Baylor to only 50 points, so maybe not. That would only be 130. This might be an under game, honestly. Um, but I like Duke and the minus 12.5. 5:15 on the East Coast. 6 seed Illinois takes on 3 seed Kentucky in the Midwest region. Illinois is laying 1.5 points as the 6 seed. Interesting here. This game is played in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I guess that's probably giving Illinois the edge here, as they are closer proximity to Milwaukee than Kentucky. This is a tough pick for me. I don't know which team I like better. I don't really like either team. But give me Kentucky plus the 1.5. The over 170.5. I think that is just a lot of points. We're talking I mean 80 points apiece would get you to 160. So you're talking 85 apiece with a 1.5 point spread. That's a lot, but maybe the books are onto something. I would say under if anything, but yeah, Kentucky plus 1.5, Kentucky money line. I don't really have a good beat on that game. Um, but let me write it down as UK plus 1.5. Next up is 6 o'clock. We finally get into the multi-view window. If you have YouTube TV, 6:10 p.m. St. Mary's, the 7 seed, taking on 2 seed Alabama. Alabama's laying 5.5 points here in Cleveland, Ohio, at the Rocket Arena. Total is set at 149.5. St. Mary's likes to play slow, and Alabama likes to play fast. What's going to happen in this game? I think Alabama runs them out of the gym. That's my take over the last few days. Styles make fights, but the slow teams this year are not succeeding against the fast teams. And I've got to take a fast team against a slow team. Um, if you ain't first, you're last. Let's go, Bama. Bama minus 5.5. 7 o'clock on the East Coast, 12 seed Colorado State takes on 4 seed Maryland in the West region in Seattle, Washington. Maryland is laying 7.5 points. I think that's way too many points. Colorado State, the team from the West Coast, is getting 7.5 points from Maryland. I don't know about you, but I don't trust Maryland to lay 7.5 points against Colorado State. Plus 270 on the money line. I do like the over at 142.5. But I am all over Colorado State here. Um, that is crazy. Colorado State plus 7.5 and the money line. All freaking over it, dude. I just think they're going to have the West Coast crowd. There's an Oregon and Arizona game after this that is in the East region. So it's a different region. It doesn't really matter as far as who Colorado State or Maryland play next. I just think this is too many points for an East Coast team to be laying to a West Coast team on the West Coast. You're going to get random fans that are just a Seattle University fan or a Washington fan or a Washington State fan that are just going to go to this game and root for Colorado State. This crowd is going to be 100% Colorado State favored. And I think Colorado State wins this game on the money line. I love this matchup. This is probably my favorite game to watch of the day. I'm so glad this one is in the same arena as Oregon, Arizona, so I don't have to watch both games at the same time. So excited for that game. Colorado State plus 7.5. Colorado State money line plus 270 at DraftKings. Plus 270. Whoo, I might bet that right now. Cheers to Colorado State. Already toasting my glass to you, brother. Well, yeah, fuck it. Probably shouldn't count my chickens early, but I'm just going to do it. 7:45 Eastern Standard Time. 6 seed Ole Miss takes on 3 seed Iowa State. Iowa State is laying 5.5 points in Milwaukee. Easy smash spot here on Iowa State. I did not like the way that Mississippi or Ole Miss let Carolina back into the game the other night. Number 9. I Carolina looked like a bag of dicks in the first half. Ole Miss was ready to roll to a 20, 25, 30 point win, no problem. And then they started fucking up. They started letting Carolina back into the game. They played some really shitty defense. And at the 5 minute mark, Carolina had cut it to a 4 point game. And I really thought all the momentum was on Carolina. They had they had gone on an 11-0 run in the last like 2 or 3 minutes. Ole Miss looked terrible. And then they let the white boy with the headband shoot a three, and Carolina was done for. But nevertheless, after what I saw at the end of that game, I do not trust Ole Miss against a better defensive team and a team in Iowa State that has 3 to 4 absolute scorers on their team. Uh, Curtis Jones, Jefferson, Momchilovich, and then Taman Lipsey. All four of those dudes can get a bucket whenever they want to. I think Iowa State rolls -5.5. Easy smash spot. Definitely one of my favorite plays of the day right there. Last two games of the night, 8:40 p.m. 10 seed New Mexico and Richard Pitino take on 2 seed Michigan State in Cleveland, Ohio. Michigan State laying 7.5 points. Total is set at 148.5. This is tough. I want to keep a Pitino alive in the tournament, but I think Michigan State rolls here. Past 2 days have shown that the favorites are really rolling in this tournament. And I kind of think the number is telling you this right here. 7.5 points. Michigan State did not look as good as you would like them to against Bryant, but they turned it on late. They got the cover. They won by 25 points. New Mexico kind of had to grind it out, but they looked good against who did they beat? Marquette. Yeah, they won by 9, but I think it was a tighter game for the most part. Michigan State, Tom Izzo, he he's going to be upset that they let Bryant stay in the game for as long as they did. I really like Michigan State in this spot right here. -7.5. Book it for Michigan State. I just like the way their guards are playing. They've got a couple of 7-footers as well. And Jace Richardson is going to have a day tomorrow. I don't think he played exceptional against Bryant. Let me look at that box score because he was having a nuclear Big Ten tournament. Let's see. Jace Richardson. Yeah, against Bryant, 15 points, only 1 foul. I like that. 2 assists, 3 boards, 3 of 4 from the 3 point line. He played 30 minutes, 5 of 11 from the field overall. Just a balanced scoring from the team. I mean, Jace had 15, most of any of the starters. Jeremy Fears 11, Jaden Akins 11, and off the bench, Cohen Carr 18 points, and Trey Holloman, backup guard, 14 points off the bench. So their bench played great, but if I look over the last couple of games for Jace Richardson, 15 points, 21, 17, 18, 22. Yeah, I think he has a day tomorrow. I think he goes over 20 points. I think he leads this team to a victory, and Michigan State beats New Mexico by 10 plus. Last game on the docket, 5 seed Oregon takes on 4 seed Arizona, former Pac 12 opponents. Now one's in the Big Ten, one's in the Big 12. Games played in Seattle, Washington. Obviously, this is a little bit of an advantage for the Oregon Ducks here. Ducks. They will have the advantage. A lot of Oregon fans probably live in the Seattle, Washington area. Also, just one state over to travel for the Ducks. Arizona, they will have a good crowd too. Arizona's laying 3.5 points here. Total is set at 152.5. I do worry about the Ducks being able to score with Arizona in this game, but Arizona is questionable at times too. Over the last 5 games, Arizona has scored 93, only scored 64 against Houston in the Big 12 tournament. Beat Texas Tech 86 to 80, Kansas 88 to 77, and lost to Kansas the previous game 83 to 76. Ducks, on the other hand, beat Liberty in the first round 81-52. Lost to Michigan State in the Big Ten tournament 74-64, but beat Indiana 72-59, Washington 80 to 73 in OT, and Indiana the previous game in the regular season 73-64. So the Ducks are averaging 74, 75 points a game, whereas Arizona somewhere in the mid to high 80s or mid to low 80s, maybe. I don't know if the Ducks can score enough points in this game. I'm leaning Arizona. I want to take the Wildcats. I do like Caleb Love being a former Carolina Tar Heel, but I do like the Ducks. Like I said earlier, I like betting Oregon and Baylor just because of their jersey colors, the green and yellow. I don't know. It just pops to me. I like betting it. But the Ducks here at 3.5, I do not like that number. I don't like them at the plus 145. I do like Arizona. Hmm. Based on what ESPN says, and take that with a grain of salt, but it says that uh, odds by ESPN Bet Sportsbook, the line opened at 5.5 Arizona, and it's down to 3.5. I do like the 3.5 better than the 5.5. If it was 5.5 right now, I'd probably take the Ducks. I will wait until the last possible minute to bet this one, hoping it gets to Arizona minus 2.5. And then I can win by a 3-point field goal at the end. Because I do see that that's how this game comes down. Like, I see another Caleb Love at the buzzer 3-pointer to win. I really do. We saw that earlier in the season. I forget who they beat when they did that. But I really do see a Caleb Love 3 at the buzzer. I see this game being tied one possession with 30 seconds to go, and Arizona wins by 3. So I will be waiting until game time and hopefully get a 2.5 by then. If not, I might take Ducks 3.5. But right now, as the line sits at 3.5, I'm leaning Arizona. I just think they could score 85 to 90 points, and the Ducks only put up 70, 72. And I would be kicking myself if I took the Ducks just based on my love of the green and yellow. So Arizona minus 3.5 for me. That's probably a heart pick and not a head pick, but I think it's the best play. And that wraps up the slate for tomorrow. 45 minutes. Man, I talked a long freaking time. Somebody stop me. Best bets of the day. Uh, I'm going to start it off with the over in Florida Yukon. I really think that the 150 and a half is short. Um, I like the 9.5 with Yukon, but I like the over better. So I'm going to say my best bet number one is the over 150 and a half. Best bet number two, Duke minus 12 and a half. I think that's an easy one. I really don't think that Baylor can compete with them on the glass. Duke can get Norchad O'Meara into foul trouble really easily, and I see Duke winning that game by margin for sure. Third best bet of the day. Tough, tough, tough. But I do like a Colorado State plus 7.5 and the money line. You could call that like a half pick a piece if you want, but definitely the plus 7.5. That game's played in Seattle. I like the money line as well at plus 270. Colorado State advances to the Sweet 16. Let's freaking go. Ram up. And number four, we'll go with a slick 4-pack. Which one of these four favorites here in the back end do I like the best? Bama, Iowa State, Michigan State, or Arizona? It's tough, man. It really is. Mm, if I factor in regionality, Iowa State has a big advantage over Ole Miss being in Wisconsin. They will have a big crowd there. And Michigan State will have a riotous crowd in Cleveland, Ohio against New Mexico. Give me Michigan State as my fourth best bet of the day for Sunday, March 23rd. Over 150 and a half in Florida, Yukon. Duke minus 12 and a half. Colorado State plus 7.5 and the money line at plus 270. And Michigan State minus 7.5. Thank you very much. My name is Jay Steele. This is the Steele Talking Sports Podcast. It is 2 o'clock in the morning and I am still recording. Let me go to sleep. Thank you very much. Steele Talking Sports on YouTube, Steele _talking on Twitter. I am out of here.